I'm Mike Cassidy with Signifyd. Today I'm talking to Tim Davis, who is our Director of Risk Consulting.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Tim, thanks for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
I thought I'd start out just by asking you, how did you get into the risk business? I mean, was it like in kindergarten when they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? You said, I want to be a fraud analyst, or how did that happen?
No, it's actually a kind of long and funny story. I'll start with the long one. So I was living at home with my parents and not working at the time, and my parents really thought I should get a job. So my mom comes in one day and says, we're going to a career fair. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. She says, I've typed up a resume. It's here. We're going to this career fair. So I ended up going to the job fair. It was at like a Holiday Inn or something in Omaha, Nebraska, where I lived at the time. And one of the companies that was recruiting there was PayPal. So I ended up having an interview with PayPal there at the site. I got hired to my first job there as a risk analyst, and that's kind of how I started down this path.
Well, when we talk about that trip, so how did that work for you? So you're in a call center, you're at PayPal. I mean, what does someone who's working in the field, what do you look ahead to? What are the paths and choices?
For me, I was I was working in the call center doing investigations on fraud, talking to customers about fraud. My next path there is to move to being the lead agent for the team. And then from there, I kind of had the choice of, did I want to continue down the path of working in a call center, or did I want to work in a more strategic type of role? And I moved myself towards the more strategic type role, a more data-driven analytics role. So then it was just working through a bunch of random jobs that made stepping stones on my way there, picking up the things I needed to do on the way, learning about data and SQL and data analytics. My educational background is in math, so I wasn't totally foreign to these ideas, but it was all learned on the job stuff, that this is what I needed to do to solve the problem then, and this is what I need to do to solve the next problem, so I better learn it and move forward.
So you're doing the fraud work, and particularly, when you were at what was essentially a startup or pretty early stage company, you could probably move into a lot of different roles. What is it about risk and fraud that really keeps you going at it? What do you like about it?
Well, I think it's very interesting work. For one thing, you work in this space that nobody knows about, so it's both like challenging to tell people what your job is, and someone walks up to you and says, "What's your job?" And then it also can be exciting depending on how you pitch it to them. You can be like, "I investigate fraud. I find fraudsters on the internet and stop fraud," and then all of a sudden it sounds very exciting. So people can be very excited about that type of story. It's also very interesting what's going on. It's very applicable to what happens in your life. I have a lot of knowledge about how the world of payments and commerce and finance works that I gained from doing this work that helps me in my day-to-day life, helps me advise other people. But beyond that, it's just fun to catch fraudsters. It's fun to see what's going on, what they're doing, what are they going to think of, how do they work, and how do you stop them from stealing? How do you protect yourself, your company, your company's clients? How do you stop those fraudsters and save money?
You've worked at some pretty big places, Visa, Western Union, I think.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, we're not that big yet. Mm-hmm. We're growing, but still not that big. What do you like about being at a place like this as opposed to one of those other places, or what's different about it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things about Signifyd that's different from working at a large company, especially working in risk at a large company. First of all, even at a company where risk has to be what they're good at, it's never the business's core goal. It's never their number one priority. But at Signifyd, risk is our number one priority. What we do is risk. So we're not taking a back seat to marketing on a regular basis. We're not taking a back seat to product. We're not worrying about building this product or that product instead of managing risk. Like, risk is what we do here, and so risk is the number one priority. We're not a second-class group like happens sometimes. The other thing about Signifyd is it's small, and we're growing, and it's dynamic, and we're not burdened by bureaucracy. If you work at a large company, especially some of these really established companies, it can take a long time to get things accomplished, and things can move kind of slow, and it just takes a while to get through everything. But that's definitely not the place that we're at here. Like, we have to fix things now, we have to get things done, and we are getting things done now.
That's, it has me thinking about company culture, which is one of those things that's really kind of hard to talk about specifically. I mean, you kind of know it when you see it or mm-hmm. whatever, but are you able to talk at all about Signifyd, what you've seen about Signifyd that maybe is distinctive, or that is among the reasons you want to be here?
Yeah, sure. So One of the things that I've noticed about Signifyd is it really feels like it's a close-knit group here. Everybody's helpful. Everybody's trying to solve the problems. We're all focused on solving the problems that matter to the company first. And I have not encountered anybody here yet that's worried about building their own domain or building their own kingdom or solving their own problem or making sure that they get credit for something and nobody else does. I haven't encountered that at all. We're all working together right now to solve the problems that we need to solve as a company to make this company successful. So there's just not a whole lot of political games to play right now and a whole lot of distraction like that. We're just getting work done.
So, that gets me thinking about the future of fraud and the future of protecting merchants from fraud. And where do you think this is all going? I mean, we're getting better and better at what we do. The world's changing fast. Is there a time when fraud won't be a problem for merchants? They won't need companies helping them protect themselves from fraud?
I don't think so, Mike. I think fraud is going to be here for a long time. Payments and everything, commerce is moving more and more to the internet. It's a channel that it's easier for people to target for fraud. It's not like you're paying in cash in person. We're probably not going to go back to where that's where most transactions happen. So I think fraud is going to be here. We're obviously getting better at what we do. We're working hard, but they're working hard too, trying to stay a step ahead of us. And it's kind of an arms race, and we're in a little bit of a competition there. But I think it's going to be a long-term problem to have to cope with fraud and fraud on the internet.
Well, great. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been really interesting.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Mike.